my prosperity treatments. Has everybody got it? Because I got to ask you, and really, the future of your prosperity rides on this answer. My question is always, are you ready?
Yes!
Are you ready to have what is rightfully yours?
Yes!
Are you ready to have money pour into your life from wild places?
Yes!
Are you ready to have lots and lots of zeros in your checkbook?
Yes!
Are you ready to buy what you want to buy?
Yes!
Go where you want to go?
Yes!
Do what you want to do?
Yes!
Be who you have come here to be?
Yes!
Get up out of your chair. 2 hours. Come together.
I, Martha, know that God is the source of all supply, and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word which I speak in faith knowing now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the Think and Grow Rich program of our center, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is.
So this is the time of class where you have an opportunity to get up and share some of the increase that has happened to you this week. Who's got a story? Are you coming up? Come on up, Mike.
Good. Well, it all started with this idea of increase, and I was not in a real increased place. I had 4 broken computers and 2 broken radiators, and so I needed an upgrade. And so I found a good radiator, and I fixed the other radiator, and then I found a side mirror that perfectly fit on my car, and that was upgraded. And then I found all this stuff for my bicycle because it had broken things, and I upgraded that. And then we manifested 2 Apple computers, brand new Apple computers. So that was good. And then I went and I was picking up someone to go to church, and they were having a garage sale, and this guy came up and gave me this 4x2 flat screen TV because I had thought, well, the only thing I haven't upgraded is my television. And I forgot about the new stereo and the new vacuum cleaner. And then my wife said, well, why don't you manifest some money? She said that an hour ago. And I said, well, I'm going to prosperity thing. But yeah, we can manifest some money. And the phone rang, and someone called, and we're having a wedding. We're doing a wedding tomorrow for $300.
Well, I have to confess, I haven't been very good with my budget, On the good side of that, since last week, I've been given a Corvette, the contents of a storage unit down in South Florida. I might have to go down there and retrieve it. I've got the money to pay cash for a work vehicle for me that I've been needing for quite a while. And just all kinds of other little stuff that's been happening this week. That's so far.
Yay.
That's been the last 3 days.
I have done my homework. I have 2 pages.
She always does.
Okay,
She always does.
when we walked out of here, we found 10 cents on the ground, and then the next day I got a check for $733. I got a check for $700 and something for someone hitting my bumper. I got a $100 check, a $300 check. I got an extra day of work. We got the Corvette. We got the contents of a shipping container. That's my paycheck. That's normal. We got Eric got some side work for from a client. I went shopping, and I went to purchase one candlestick, and they didn't really want to run the credit card, so the lady wrapped it up and just handed it to me. A table, a really nice table, and 6 matching chairs. More money, a small love offering, and then today, the biggest love offering I've ever received ever in my life. Cool. $285 from one client. Woo! We got a new tenant, which brought in about $1,300, more money, and we went out to eat yesterday, and our bill, we went out to eat at Cinnabar, and the bill was 75% off, because it was the last day that they were open. And I'm in the parking lot on the way in, made an appointment with a new client for Thursday.
Here's a money magnet.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah?
oh, and you forgot something.
Are we doing this now or later?
Later.
By all means, bring it up now. Because how long do you wait to tithe?
Immediately.
You don't wait, yes.
That was cash that was given to me today.
And that's why you got that list.
Okay, I committed to a seminar, and things started happening right away. I got a letter in the middle of the month from the power company. They go, no, I'm going to owe some money, and they informed me that I have overpaid 2 months in a row, and it's enough money to pay another 2 months in advance. The phone that I have reduced the bill by $30 a month for some reason. My cell phone, I don't know why, I never asked for it, but it's permanent now apparently. I received money from a class action lawsuit that I filed a long time ago for some stuff. It had nothing to do with me, just a whole group of people. And I went to the casino this week with those vouchers that they give you, because I never paid my own money, and I came home with $400 that day. And then I want to make a commitment to complete a book that I started a while ago called Poetry for the Prosperous Soul. And when I was in New York, I met Jack Canfield, and he said he would endorse it, so there's a little space for them on there once I complete it. But I just want to, this is the first poem I started in the book, and I just wanted to read this one to you. It's called The Prosperity Poem, and this is going to be the beginning of the book. It's a little silly, and I kind of like it. I can't, said the man who could. I won't, said the man who would. And then up stepped a woman who had it coming, and boy, she was good. When asked of this queen how she accomplished this thing, this is what she said. I looked deep inside at the fire that died, and saw fear to my left, doubt to my right, and could have settled for those to be sure. But then it dawned on me that those two things would come along for the ride, dark or light. And that's when I knew that I'd rather be win or lose on the side that I choose. So now I bask in the warmth and the bright, with my doubts and my fears right by my side, squinting all through the night.
Cool.
Let's see, I've gotten a whole bunch of new clients this week, both for personal fitness training and also for mental health counseling. So that's been great. I have been asked to do formal presentations, and the thing that I was missing in order to be able to do that, I didn't have a laptop in order to do PowerPoint. And so I just put it out to the universe, and I got a beautiful, brand new laptop, just like that. It just, wonderful. And then lastly, I decided, I'm having shoulder surgery in August, and I decided one of the things that I'd like to do to help me speed up my recovery is attend this wonderful, it's the John C. Campbell Folk School, that it just has the best in learning instruments and all kinds of crafts. So I've always wanted to learn to play the folk harp, the Celtic harp. So I'm going to be going thanks to a wonderful donation from a friend who found out I wanted to go. And I got registered this morning, and it's a done deal for a week.
started coming in March to Science of Mind 104. And I got this letter in the mail and was real surprised. And I've been working on the paperwork and all of the legalities. And so this week, I got the letter that tells me that my lifetime annuity, my lifetime pension is starting on September 1st. It's a small amount, but it'll pay for my car.
Just because you're smaller in stature doesn't mean you're not really. I actually was able to pick up some work doing something that I really love. And I haven't even been in class since the firewall.
I'm glad you reminded me, Tom, about the possibility of getting rates lowered, because that happened. Jerry got a new iPhone, and I inherited his old iPhone, and which is a better iPhone than I had. And but in the process, the person that helped us said, "Oh, we can save you $30 a month. You don't need the plan you've got." So that's one thing. The other is I've been visioning personally. I'm open for visioning personally and group visioning, and have enjoyed that a lot. And I got my first payment for it this week, and it included a tip. So that was really a nice experience. The other is that I had a little piece of gold, just a little piece, a fragment that I've been thinking I'll run in and get it checked out and see if it's worth anything. So it actually fell out when I had a bunch of pennies in I poured them out to pay somebody, and there it was. So I took it and I had it checked. And the guy said, "Oh, you know, this is really light. It's 14 karat gold, but it's a lightweight piece, and usually people would charge you to assay it." And he said, "But I'm not going to, so just come on in and get it. Get $20 for it." So, great. And I do want to say, I also, since you were mentioning, I also, just to use the energy of the room, I saw something today I really am excited about. First time I've been this excited about applying for just an interesting opportunity that is, I think, perfectly suited for me. And it's a occasional thing, but it's something that I think is perfect.
Talking about a job?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. But it's a part-time, you know, but it's
okay.
And it can lead. It could be multi-year, it said, and stuff. So I'm really excited about it. So I want to use this energy, knowing that happens, and I'm starting a website and not sure how to do it, but I want to do it like now, and get my business cards. So,
yay, Carolina!
Okay, so I wanted to share this with you guys for anyone who may have not done this before or is maybe a little doubtful about the process, which was me a couple of summers ago when I first took this course. And I took this piece of paper and I typed the text in pretty font on green paper, large, and laminated it so that I could hang it in my bathroom and it wouldn't get all wrinkly. And every morning when I got ready, I said it, and I've been doing that every single morning for 2 years now. And I mean, there's just so much that has happened, but just recently, and this is the first time I've been here at this class, so this didn't happen this past week, but it just happened in the last few months, and I just thought I needed to share this with you guys, because when I first started this class, when people came up and shared, it was very inspiring for me. So, in the spirit of that, I would like to share with you 2 things. One is that I transitioned out of a career that I was really frustrated in to a new career that not only is I'm very happy in, but literally has doubled my salary. Yeah. So, my old job was tied to my housing. I managed an apartment complex and I lived at the complex, so I needed a place to live, and temporarily was living with some friends, and decided to I'll just make a vision board and just cut out some things I love, which I did last summer's prosperity class. And it was just like makes the hair on your neck stand up, because the place I'm living now is so creepily similar to the place the pictures that I cut out on my board. So this house is, and also I'm living in the house for free, which is crazy. I had a friend reach out to me and say that he had some friends that he does house, handiwork for, and they're putting their house on the market because they're moving to Chicago, they have kids, and they need someone to live in it while it's for sale. So it's on the top of a mountain, and it's just this really high-end, beautiful home with these awesome sunset views, and I get to live here for free. So that's pretty exciting.
I haven't been in the class yet this summer, but I had to fly to Houston last week in an emergency. My grandmother went into hospice and passed away. So I missed just a ton of work after missing 2 weeks of work on vacation with my son, and ended up that my mom, because she's going to get reimbursed a bunch of money out of my grandmother's estate or whatever, paid for not only the trip up there and all of my expenses for last week, but also gave me a large sum of cash to make up for the week of work I missed, plus some of my vacation time. So I was able to pay rent early and everything, which was really nice. And since people have mentioned jobs, I just have to say, I haven't been in work for 2.5 weeks, and I have missed my job, and I love it so much, and it feels really good.
How many of you know that we had a big craft fair in Asheville this week? All right. So I'm a member of the Southern Highland Craft Guild, and my team and I were responsible for getting 160 artists into the Cellular Center and 160 artists out of the Cellular Center. And it's in the past, in every one that I've worked in before, it's been wringing of hands, pulling of hair, gnashing of teeth kind of operation. We worked really hard on it for this last month, organizing it, and it was the best load in ever, and the best load out ever. So my prosperity this week came in the form of not just my happiness, but the happiness of 160 artists.
Who else? Perfect health, perfect wealth, perfect happiness. Okay, Jackie, come on up and give us your thing.
I recently found out something that's been a secret for a long time, and I have a huge amount of funds that I know is there but not accessible quite yet. And when I found out about it, I had a vision. I moved here from Florida wanting to build a log house, and the log house grew into the idea of housemates and sharing. And it is now into a community. And doing my homework for the first time since taking any of these classes.
It works.
Love you anyway.
Became really inspired to go forth with this vision, and I have a prayer partner that I met in my first prosperity class sitting across from me at the table, Mike Bayham. And we were in this together, and so part of my prayer practice is reading Science of Mind magazine, and on July 19th I opened it up, and this is what I read. First of all, call me Trim Tab. Famed engineer and visionary Buckminster Fuller had a mission statement that read, to make the world, this is quote, to make the world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest possible time through spontaneous cooperation without ecological damage or disadvantage to anyone, unquote. In other words, Fuller was committed to service to humanity. He used the metaphor of the trim tab frequently in his explanation of how he leveraged his personal power to serve others. Quote, something hit me very hard once, thinking about what one little man could do. Think of the Queen Mary. The whole ship goes by, and then comes the rudder. Then there's a tiny thing at the edge of the rudder called a trim tab. It's a miniature rudder. Just moving the little trim tab builds a low pressure that pulls the rudder around. It takes almost no effort at all. So I said that the little individual can be a trim tab. Society thinks it's going right by you, that it's left you all together. But if you're doing dynamic things mentally, the fact is that you can just put your foot out like that, and the whole big ship of state is going to turn. So I said, call me Trim Tab. Fuller was tuned into the infinite power within. And he clearly understood the power of right thinking when he said, quote, if you're doing dynamic things mentally, unquote, a simple idea acted upon can change the world. So I read his mission statement for 100% of humanity, and then I wrote my own mission statement. To create a prototype self-sustainable community village, Trim Tab 1, called Prosperity Acres, that is the fulcrum for other villages built with the finest materials and trust, expertise, faith, vision, intention, love, and respect for all people, all ages, making a joyous foundation for the new golden age of humanity to grow and prosper.
Wonderful, 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 wonderful. When you open up your awareness to these ideas that things can come out of the blue, that things can happen, then things come out of the blue and things happen. Because remember we talked about last week, you weren't here, but your good is just piled up around you, trying to get in, and we fight so hard to keep it away. It's like, no, I can't have all the money, all the joy, all the experiences, and it takes up a lot of energy. So when you find yourself tired, that's because you are fighting your good. Because when you experience your good, you are lifted up. So you can monitor yourself, check yourself out. If you're awakening in the morning and you're tired, and I don't care if you're awake at the shaman's hour of 3 a.m. or not, if you're waking up in the morning tired, overwhelmed, depressed, it's because you're using all of your energy to keep your good away. But you can't send it away. That's the great thing. It just starts piling up all around you. It's called by right of consciousness. And so it piles up all around you, waiting for you to just let your guard down for a minute. Enjoy a sunset. Whoosh! In comes some money. Play with a child. Whoosh! Here comes a car. Go on a trip. You were just on a trip seeing your family, right? I saw pictures of you on Facebook. You were playing. And what happened? Somebody gave you a Corvette. This is what happens. We have the entire universe giving to us, giving to us, giving to us. And unless we are really intent on staying poor and miserable and sick, it's going to find a way in. So, monitor yourself. If you're not feeling 100%, consider that you're holding back the flow of life. And if you try to hold back the flow of life, you can delay it, but you're never going to hold it back completely. I think that's why some people at their moment of transition, they get such a rush. Because all of that stocked up joy and good comes pouring into them. And if you've ever been around anybody at their moment of transition, it's a, so you don't have to wait. Just stop locking the door. Not only do some of us shut the door, lock the door, but then we go find some 2x4s and we start nailing them up so that even if the door cracks open a little bit, that good can't get in. And we're tired and depressed and upset. So if you're doing that, just notice that you're keeping your money away. You're keeping your joy away. Your job that you love that pays you twice as much money. You're keeping it away, and all you have to do is let your guard down for a second by noticing a sunset, by coming to class, by experiencing something joyous. And then it comes rushing in. And I think that's why when we look at the moon that we had a couple of weeks ago or a month ago now, I don't know, or sunrises, or when I just get lost in the sea, that there's that euphoria that comes because we are open to allowing our good in. And we can have it show up in all kinds of ways. We can get ideas about new jobs, new careers, things to do. We can find out that we have, I want to hear about this, large amounts of money that we just don't quite have access to yet. Isn't that true for all of us? Yeah. We didn't know we had large amounts of money that we don't have access to yet. And we're going to get that access and we're going to have it in our lives. So when you do this treatment for prosperity, you're opening up your awareness to amazing things happening. One of the things that I love that Napoleon Hill says over and over and over again in his book is that what mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. If you can think it, and you don't even have to believe it 100%, you just have to give it half a chance. If you can crack open your awareness a little bit to say, well, maybe this could be possible, you can have it. And it may find the most bizarre ways to come into your world, but it will track you down. No matter where you go, no matter who you talk to about how terrible it all is, about how the world's going to hell in a handbasket, about how all is doomed, doesn't matter, it's still going to find you. And all you have to do is let your guard down for a minute, a second, and it's going to come in and get its foot in the door, and then you're going to get such a rush of joy and happiness that going back to that old conversation will be much more difficult until you find yourself around people that you've been around for years and you're just going, la, 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 la. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it because when I talk to you about so-and-so did this and isn't that awful and they're terrible, I feel bad. And when I get away from you and I talk to people or listen to CDs or sing songs that are uplifting, I feel good. And my commitment to my feeling good is so strong that I'm not going to allow myself to be dragged down. But to do that, you get the little rush of energy. You get the euphoria, you get the happiness. And then that allows you to not be so stupid in what you spend your time on. Not hang around with people who are broke. You know, if you want to be broke, hang around with poor people. And they'll convince you that that's real. And then you'll have like a little poor people's club. And then you'll get mad, because you got to get mad to hold your good away. Then you'll be depressed, because depression is only unexpressed rage. And then you'll go on drugs, so you won't care anymore, except you'll be poor. Until you die, and you'll go, oh! And in that moment, as you're passing out, I could have had that? I could have had that? Really? Really? Emily, the therapist, is back there going, I'm not sure it really works that way, but that's funny. So how many people are doing your prosperity treatment every day? How many people are doing it more than once a day? Good. Good spiritual brownie points. Because what you're going to get is more prosperity, better health, better wealth, better happiness, to where life is a joyous experience, and to where Kristen gets money from her mother. Boy, who would have thought that would have happened a year ago? Yes, yes, or that you would have had a job you loved. Yeah. I tell you, you stick around in this teaching and things just get better and better and better. Those of you who were not here last week, we had some work that we did, and I just want to give you an opportunity to catch up. So we have two different things. The first thing is that we have, he's got so many lists in the book, is 6 points of something. And this is the handout that you do that thing on. So he says, fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire. It is not sufficient merely to say, I want plenty of money. No, you're going to be specific. Be definite as to the amount. And then he says, determine what exactly what you intend to get in return. What are you going to do? Well, I'm just going to be a stick in the mud and be depressed and be angry and have that money come. It's not going to happen. What has to happen is there has to be an exchange into life, a setting the law in motion, and that comes back to you. And now I just want to fess up a little bit. Establish a definite date when you intend to possess the money you desire. I want you to know that this is Napoleon Hill's stuff, and I did that. I didn't like it, so I kept making it shorter and shorter and shorter until finally I just wrote now. Now, because I really don't want to wait 10 years. I don't want to wait 5 years. I don't want to wait a month or a year or 6 months. I want to have it now. And if you've been in this teaching for any length of time, you know that the only time is now. But what you have to do is be willing to wrap your head around that, because what he's giving people is a logical way to say, and his example is, I'm going to have $50,000. It's going to come in slow increments over a period of time of 5 years. And by the time 5 years is over, I'll have my $50,000. And I thought, God, I don't want to wait 5 years for $50,000. $50,000 is easy. I want $1 million and I want it now. So don't be afraid to write down what it is you want, especially if you get a surge from it, especially if it lifts you up. If you can't, if you read now and you're just, oh, this is a bunch of BS, then give it a time limit. You know, give yourself something to wrap your head around. I am an absolutist. There's only one. God is all that there is. It is what we are, period, end of story, and I don't need anything else, usually. Sometimes other people need something to take a step with, a little increment bridge. I know that since there's this one unified field and there's an energy that attaches everything, it must come from the same source, even if I can't seem to imagine it. And so whatever that is, it must be one, and because there's only one, that must be what I am, whether I can feel it or not, whether I can understand it, whether I can grok it. No matter how I'm using it, it must be what I am, and so I'm going to act as if that the infinite prosperity and abundance of all of life is my nature and my essence, and I'm going to go ahead and consider the possibility that I can pay my rent, that I can have what I want, that money can come in out of the blue, whether it's a dime in the parking lot. How many people walked past that dime in the parking lot last week? Chances are most people did. And Lynn's the one who stopped and picked it up, and look at what happened for the rest of the week. She's like, yeah, God is in the dime. So you open up to this idea that says, and I can consider the possibility that my life can get better. That even though if I don't know how it's going to happen now, that something can happen that I don't consciously have an awareness of, that there are forces at work in the universe that I may not know about that can show up as my life getting better. So that's a bridge. So if you want to use that concept of a bridge for a time, it's okay. I just really couldn't just teach it as an absolute because I don't believe it. But if you want to use a time frame, it's okay. And then what happens is you wrap your head around it and you say, okay, when this date comes, this is going to happen, and you have belief and your subconscious is in alignment and law is set in motion, and when you see that date on the calendar, you have it, whether it came a year or a week or a day early, or if it showed up on that particular date, it doesn't matter. It's like the check, you saw that Jack Canfield, how cool is that? The check that he had saying that I'm going to have $100,000, this was before Chicken Soup, and he taped it onto the ceiling of his bedroom so that every morning he would open up his eyes and see a check made out to him for $100,000, and he had no idea he was making $8,000. He had no idea how he was going to get $100,000, but he put a date on it and he wrote it out. Jim Carrey did the same thing. He wrote himself out $1 million check, put a date on it, put it in his wallet, and kept it with him. And by that date, he had made Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. He didn't know it was going to be Ace Ventura, Pet Detective that gave him the $1 million. And Jack Canfield didn't know that he was going to get this idea on how to sell the book that he had already written. So if you want to use a date, if you don't want to use a date, it's totally up to you, but don't be afraid to go for what you want. And then you've got to figure out what you're going to give. What are you going to give, and how are you going to give it? Put some thought on this. What in the world are you going to do? Well, I don't know. Well, pick something up. What am I going to do? I'm going to be impeccable with my word. I'm no longer going to talk poor mouth. I'm no longer going to criticize. I'm going to have 100 happy days. I'm going to open up my energy to have something. I'm going to get up in the morning singing. What are you going to do? Do something. I'm going to go help someone somewhere. I'm going to give my time away. What are you going to do? I'm going to do something to set spiritual law in motion to be different so that I can have something different in my life. And then he says, read it. Read it twice a day. Read it and see and feel and believe yourself as already in possession of that money. He says, do it in the morning. When you first awaken, that means you're sleeping with this. Do it in the evening, right as you go to sleep. How many people are reading their statement twice a day? How many of you have been sleeping with this in the bed? Now that could just be me that John's out of town. But it's got to be close. It's got to be close. And what you do is you breathe it in and you tell yourself that this is true. And if you've got to do a little thinking about it and say, well, I don't know if it's true, but it's going to be true. I don't know how it's going to happen. Something's going to happen to open up my avenue of good, and then it's going to show up. And you know, hindsight, it always says, well, of course. But standing and looking into the future, it often is, I don't have a clue. So get comfortable with, I don't have a clue, because you're going to have it, of course. Well, of course that happened that way. So tell yourself twice a day, see it, feel it, believe it, know it, that you've got that. There have been thousands and thousands and thousands of people who have used this little form from Napoleon Hill to create huge amounts of money. And it's just money. We're just working on money right now to create that exact amount of money, because you open up to infinite possibility and infinite flow, and then in the darndest ways, things show you how to have that. One of the things that Jack Canfield did is talked about that, and Napoleon, and he got this. You know, he was a student, Jack Canfield was a student of W. Clement Stone, who was a student of Napoleon Hill. So Napoleon Hill says, keep open to divine inspiration. And when divine inspiration comes, take action on it. Don't say, no, that's just crazy talk inside my head. Get a sense of it. Does this have, whoa, does this have some kind of a explosion in your head? Could that possibly happen? Could that work? Wow, I just got this idea that's got a hold of me. That's called divine inspiration. So when that comes, it's your job to act on it, whatever that might be. I think I'll call someone. You know how many times I pick up the phone in my desk and call someone and they go, I was just thinking about you. Well, of course you were. We are connected by the one mind, by the energy, by the vibe, whatever you want to call it. We are connected, so act on that. And for Jack Canfield, that's when he said, I've got this book, boy, if I could just make a quarter on them, just 25 cents per book. What is 25 cents at 400,000? And if I sold 400,000, now he hadn't sold any. And he's thinking, well, if I just sold 400,000 of my book, and he didn't say, well, that's the most stupid thing I've ever heard. You couldn't sell 4 of them. How are you going to sell 400,000? He said, I can wrap my head around a quarter. And all I have to do is wrap it around there 400,000 times. And I'll have my $100,000. That was divine inspiration. He said, I don't know how it's going to happen. And then he was giving a talk, and someone, he was in a store, like a 7-Eleven, and he saw the National Enquirers. He had never noticed them before. It's like, wow, National Enquirers, they go out to a lot of people, I bet. They go out to 400,000 people. They go out to millions of people. Well, I have no idea. I can't afford an ad. I have no idea how I would ever get in the National Enquirer. He's giving a lecture, and someone comes up to him and says, I want to interview you. This was really great stuff. I want to interview you. And he said, fine, you can interview me and plug my book. And who do you work for? The National Enquirer. This is divine inspiration. We get it all the time. Usually, we have our... Did you guys do Monkey Mind with John? No. Usually we have that part of us that says, oh, shut up. Oh, sit down. Oh, be quiet. Oh, don't make any noise. Oh, you can't have this. You can't do this. You're not good enough. You know, that's called the monkey mind. You just go, and usually we give in to that, and then we don't do what is ours to do. Or we think, well, if I'm going to do it, it's all got to be laid out just all perfect because, you know, I don't want to take a risk and fall flat on my face. I want guarantees here. Well, life doesn't come with guarantees like that. So when we're willing to take action on our own behalf, to really listen to the divine guidance that comes to us, then we put ourselves in alignment, and we do a little Abraham. Napoleon Hill, Abraham, they're all saying the same thing. Abraham may have Napoleon Hill in that. They were here in Asheville at the Biltmore, and I had up my hand, you know, waving it. I wanted to say, you have anyone named Ernest Holmes in there? She didn't pick on me. So, when you allow yourself to open up to this divine inspiration, you come into alignment with the good that you've already claimed. You wrote it down on your paper, you're saying it at night before you go to sleep, you're feeling it, you're breathing it in, you're believing it, and then you turn it loose to your subconscious mind all night, and then you awaken in the morning and set your day with that yes, this is possible, this is real, I can have this, and stuff happens. The universe starts vibrating all around you. We live in a reflective and vibratory universe, and certain things you notice. You never noticed that before. All of a sudden I want to turn down this street instead of, I always go that way, but I just want to go down this street. I remember we were looking for a house to rent in Miami, and we're driving all around, and I was driving with my sister Margaret, and all of a sudden she said, "It's down this street." And sure enough, there was a house with a little for rent sign in front of it, and that's the house we lived in. But there was divine inspiration, there was intuition, there was a guidance system. You know, I talked last week about the tractor beam, that we get in alignment with our good, whether it's money or happiness or joy or people or whatever, and we're hooked to it, like the tractor beam on Star Trek or Star Wars or Star whatever, and it comes to us, we come to it, we are two halves of the same coin. And in order to get away from it, we really have to do some work. And that work feels like depression, overwhelm, anger, resentment. So back at the beginning of I think it was the Law of Attraction and Creation class, I think my mantra was, shut up and grow up. Those of you who were in that first class, I was irritated. But really, this is the time when we grow up spiritually. If we want to have what we want to have, we have to be the person that can have that. Which means we have to stop being the person that can't have that. Which means we have to let go. Forgive me, but I'm actually planning a winter daytime Bible class. So I think it was Jesus or Paul one, pick one, that said, you know, you've got to stop acting like a child and let go of childish things. It's letting go of childish thoughts. We have to let go of those immature thoughts that say, I'm a victim and you're a bad person and I'm mad at you. We have to let go of that and say, I am a money magnet. I am a powerhouse. I am God in form as me, and the entire universe supports me in everything that I choose to focus on. That is a spiritually mature thought. And it's time for us to mature, i.e. time for us to grow up spiritually in order to have the grown-up life that we want. I used to do a lot of therapy work, a lot of both sides of the couch, but this time I'm talking about actually being like a therapist, and I would lead people through a process called voice dialogue a lot, and it's going inside and accessing the sub-personalities, like transactional analysis on crack. We've got the parent-child and the adult, but this is like going in and actually accessing some kind of stuck sub-personality. And one of the things that I would say often to someone who finally found their child that was, you know, locked up in chains and buried in a basement somewhere psychically, and they would bring them out, they would be afraid to come out, and I say, no, 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 tell them about how you're grown up now. Tell them about how you have a car, how you have a pet, how you have money, how you can go to McDonald's and get Happy Meals. You know, and the child then is much more willing to come forward because it knows that there's a brand new world for them. So if you're still stuck in the energy of the child, which is powers outside of me tell me what I can and cannot do and control me, it's time to grow up and mature into that idea that says, I can have my life be any way that I want, and because I'm a mature being, I am willing to pay the price to have that. Now, we don't pay a financial price to have it. We pay the price of reading our paper every night, of actually writing. I know the people in here who got that paper didn't put anything on it. You're thinking, yeah, I'll do it, or it doesn't matter if I do it, or I don't need to do it. Yes, do it, do it. To do it, to read it, to take action on your own behalf, to be able to set this law in motion so that you can get out of it what you want to get out. Are we clear?
Yes.
Good. Jen.
I have a question about Napoleon. It's incredible to me reading all of this that way back then he has all this science of mind knowledge. And even in terms of almost, he didn't say the word quantum physics, but he's touching on it big time. And so that kind of made me wonder, who's he hanging out with, who's he reading?
Well, he was hanging out with all the rich people.
Yeah, but they were in science.
How did they get rich?
but I never heard of them reading this kind of literature. Anyway.
I don't think that they were reading it, I think they were speaking it and talking about it. See, we think that Ernest got Science of Mind just out of midair. He got it from all kinds of other people. He quotes Wallace Wattles' The Science of Getting Rich almost word for word in the textbook. This kind of idea, that's why we call it New Thought, Ancient Wisdom, has been around forever. In Napoleon Hill, he's quoting some Greek philosopher about how you gotta hold your thoughts on it. You gotta think it, you gotta believe it, and if you do that, there is a power within you that will create it in your world. The biggest thing you ever have to do in life is to hold your thoughts steady. Hold your thoughts steady, stay the course. Don't let yourself get distracted by how much money you have or whether the light turned red or whether or not they hit the bumper. I loved how you turned that into, yeah, I got to check for this and you hit the bumper. I got to just check for this. You were going to go with the positive aspect of that, not, can you believe it, somebody hit my bumper and now I have to take it, blah, 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 blah. No, childish, poor thinking. Looking for the good, lifting yourself up, that's the mature, prosperous thinking. Yes?
The other thing that blew me away was, you know how you were always saying, if you take one thing out of here, just know it's really important that you're happy. If you're happy, that opens everything. So he says, he believes the watchword of the future will be human happiness and contentment. And when in this state of mind has been attained, everything else will take care of itself.
Right, because we live in a vibratory universe.
No, but he got all that.
It's not that long ago, it's only 100 years ago.
Wow.
So the watchword of the future is happy, and we are in the future. Our word to watch is happy, because when you're happy, you are open. You are open to experiencing greater and greater levels of good. And I used to really want people to understand it, and now not so much. Not so much. I mean, I know how to teach textbooks and do all of the circles and the lists and all of that, but the most important thing is that you get it. You are precious. You are deeply, deeply loved. And your job is to be happy. And that's it. That's it. And if you go there, money will seek you out. And if you get nervous and try to fight it, you will find you have no energy, you will have immature words coming out of your mouth, and you will feel terrible. That is a key. If you feel terrible, you're doing something wrong. And you've got to flip it. But sometimes people, they've never been taught how to flip it, how to change their energy. A la Barbara, become master of your fate, you must become master of your state. To change the way you feel. And sometimes I say, just pick something. Something. It just doesn't matter what you pick. It just doesn't matter. And Napoleon Hill says, if you find yourself going into those thought forms that are not where you want to be, take 5 minutes and think about something you like. He says, pick a hobby. If you've got a hobby, think about your hobby. If there's someone that you love and you're not mad at them, think about them. If there's something that is joyous for you, think about that. He says it only takes 5 minutes. Abraham says it only takes, what are the seconds down to? 17 seconds. All it does is take an instant to change your feeling state, which changes your vibration, which actually changes your brain chemistry so that it's easier for you to think the thoughts that you want to think, changes your vibration, and then you have different things start coming into your life. One of the things that I love to do is if something is there that could just easily, forgive me, piss me off. That was for Jackson. That could just easily piss me off, I'll spin it and find something good, even if I have to make up these ridiculous stories about legions of angels have come together to put this accident on I-26 right here in the pouring rain when my air conditioner is not working. Legions of angels are doing this so that I will be where I need to be, because I am always where I need to be. Now call me crazy, but I'm not mad. I'm happy. Roll down the windows. Liz's car doesn't have air conditioning. Oh. My dog has a car. It's a Nissan Xterra. And we're gonna get the air conditioning fixed, I just haven't yet, because she's a dog, so she should have her head out the window. I don't want you to think that my car doesn't have air conditioning, because I don't do that. The dog has a car. That I just think is really cool. So he goes on to his third chapter, which is faith. And he says, one of his big, good quotes, is faith is a state of mind which may be induced by autosuggestion. That was his big word, autosuggestion. That you can generate faith. You can generate a knowing that everything is going to work out. That's what faith is. That everything is going to be okay. That everything is all right. And people say, well, you know, I don't have faith because I'm always afraid, I'm always worrying. But fear is simply faith that everything is not going to work out. That's all that is.
So you have faith.
So you have faith. You just have faith that everything's going to fall apart, that the other shoe is going to drop, that something's going to happen to make you miserable again. That's faith. And so again, it's our job to learn how to change what we focus on so that we can direct our faith into the area that we want it to be. Again, if I go out to the mailbox and I get a letter that is iffy, I'm not going to open it until I'm happy. And sometimes I have let the mail sit for a week. People say, well, why didn't you deposit my check? Because I wasn't sure about it. I didn't open it for a week. Sit there, pray on it, sing to it, love on it. Sometimes people come in, my desk just is covered with mail. Well, it's covered with mail because I'm not clear yet. And I don't open the mail until I'm clear. So when I do that, I can turn whatever is in that envelope into something great. Now, I don't know what it is. It may just be, it may be a thank you note. Wow, I really love you, and I'm so grateful for the center, and I love you so much. Could be a letter from the bank that can either go, it was a mistake in your deposit this way or this way. Well, which way do I want it to go? I want it to go in alignment with the happy vibes. So I've got to be happy. I've got to generate happiness. And I love the ones from the IRS. I love the IRS. Everyone repeat after me. I love the IRS. Here. And the IRS loves you. And the IRS has money for you. It's got money for you. Mary.
We actually got a letter from the IRS the other day that said, we may owe you money or you may owe us money. We don't know yet.
So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. Right back.
We know.
You know. You know. Yes,
Actually, we know a good story about the IRS. In 2008, I made a lot of money in D.C. When I came down in 2007, when I came down here in 2008, I was unemployed on unemployment. So I had a little conversation with the IRS. I didn't wait for them to contact me. I called them. I explained the situation. I said, I owe you some money. I'm not trying to cheat you out of it. I want to pay it. I just can't do it that well right now. He said, it's no problem. He said, you're not our problem. Our problem is the people that don't want to pay it. He says, we're going to work with you. You pay that as you can, and know that in the next few years, as you get refunds, they will go towards paying off this debt. And just let us know when you can pay it back.
That's wonderful. See, God is in the IRS. All you have to do is be open to that. You have to be open to that. Is your hand up, Celeste? No? No. Okay. So how do you create faith inside of yourself? How do you do that? Yes?
If we can
Jessica.
just get back to the IRS really quickly. So this year, for the first time ever, I owed money to the IRS, and I'm a single mom. And I was like, yes, I'm a single mom, and I owe money to the IRS. Like, that's a big deal. Like,
Yeah, it is.
I love paying taxes. I love paying lots of taxes. Because the more taxes I pay, the more money I'm making.
I live in one of the richest countries in the world, and I live it on my own, and I actually have to pay taxes.
Good. Congratulations. Liz.
About, and it had what everybody give. My thought was, how do you know if you're giving enough?
How does it feel?
It feels okay to me, but I'm not the judge.
Sure you are. This is all about you being the judge. Who else could not possibly be the judge? got to set law in motion. You've got to set law in motion, and you've got to be able to take action before you experience the results of your action. That's what faith is. But if you're only taking half-hearted action, what that says is, I want to get by doing as little as possible. That sets law in motion. I don't really want to give it my all because I might run out of all, and then where will I be? I'll be empty. That sets law in motion. So that's why I love the part in, and I hear so much of Wallace Wattles in Napoleon Hill, where Wallace Wattles says you must overfill your space. You've got to give more than you get back so that you're always in an ever-increasing flow, which means if you leave the kitchen and you take a cup in, not that anybody would ever do this, and just drop it in the sink and leave, you have not overfilled your place. But if you go in there and you wash your cup and someone else's cup and wipe the counter down and leave, even though nobody saw you to say what a great job you did, you have overfilled your place. And what happens when you give out more and more and more, you get more and more back. But that takes a sense that there's a reason why I'm overfilling my place. And you know, eventually, even if you start out there, you will grow out of the used car salesman consciousness where I'm only going to give this to set law in motion so I get something back, and I'm looking for mine. Boy, I washed those 2 cups, and somebody better wash me a couple of cups or buy me a cup of coffee or something. The universe owes me. And you grow out of that into, I just want to give because I feel good when I give. I feel good when I give. I like to feel good. Feeling good lifts me up. It opens me up to having money show up in my life, and that's why I want to do it, to stay in that flow of giving. What Napoleon says is, love to be on a first-name basis with him. He says, look at the farmer. They do all this work. They go out and they clear the fields and they plow the fields and they plant the seed and they do all of this work, and they don't get any harvest from that for a long time. The farmer's got to have faith that they're going to take all of this action to create something into the future, and that's actually going to happen. And then he says farms actually return about 100-fold on what's given. So you plant a seed and you get something that has 100 times that value for that one seed. But look at all that the farmer does. And if you didn't know that there was going to be a harvest, you'd just think the farmer was crazy. Look at that crazy person out there digging that field up, dragging out rocks and tree stumps and working that old horse or mule to the bone. He's crazy until the harvest comes in. And then all of a sudden, the farmer is the most popular person in town because they took action on faith. So when we start to have this idea that things are going to work out fine, that life is supporting us, that everything is going to be great, and that if we take action on our own behalf, even if we don't see any results of it right away, that the universe is never deader and things are piling up all around us, and all I need to do is work on my state and my attitude, my experience of life, and it's going to come pouring into my life. When we develop that, then we can sit back and enjoy our lives and know that all is well and not use up our great faith on fear. Let's take a break. Come on back. Great. So in talking about faith, it occurred to me that this would be a good time to have a conversation about tithing. Those of you who signed up for the program last week agreed to tithing 10% of your time, 10% of your talent, and 10% of your money. Now the time and the talent don't really have any place that they're directed to. Am I echoing a little bit? A little bit? But where the money does, and we've asked you to tithe 10% of your money to this center if you want to be in the program. 67 of you decided that you wanted to be in the program. Yay. And the time and talent is not directive. If you want to tithe your time, which we're getting calls of people who want to tithe their time here to the center, we've got some things for you to do. So there's a sign-up sheet here, and if you want to just kind of pass it around and put your name, email, and phone number on it, someone will call you and give you a wide variety of choices of things to do. You can come up with that when it's at the end. And then you can have that taken care of, that your talent and your time is being used. But what I know about developing faith inside of me is that when I took the big jump to begin to tithe, it was the scariest thing I had ever done in my life. I had left my first husband with my 3-year-old child, moved 3,000 miles away, lost everything that I had, was sleeping on someone's floor, and that was not as scary as the idea of tithing. Because I had grown up in an environment of not enough food, not enough time, not enough love, and certainly not enough money. My sister and I, well, we sometimes reminisce about the old days when rubber bands held our shoes together and things like that. Not from, oh, aren't we victims, but wow, baby, look at how far we've come. Any of you who come over to my house for the annual Christmas party will always get a tour of my shoe closet. I know it's overcompensation, and I'm good with that. But when I heard someone say, if you don't have enough money, the way to handle that is to give 10% of your money away, I thought that was the stupidest thing I had ever heard in my life. If you have 10 and you minus 1, you've only got 9. Anybody knows that. And yet there was this conversation of something called spiritual law and manifestation and the law of attraction and prosperity and abundance. And at that time, I didn't have 10. At that time, I had 37 cents to my name. So I thought, don't have a lot to lose. And rather than putting 4 cents in, I just went through caution to the wind and gave the whole 37 cents. Which was important because that was bus fare for me and my 3-year-old son. So walking, trusting that something had to happen, because if this was what life was about, just somebody shoot me now and things would be better. So I began a journey that had the most miraculous things happen in my life. It was a month later that I had an apartment. 3 months later, I had a job, and I had the world's best job. I was under what was called a CETA program, and that was a government program, which meant nobody can fire you. And I worked for the Eugene Public Library. So I had childcare, I had a job that I just hung out with books. They didn't really ask me to do anything. My job all day was, if anyone came in for a library card, I would type them up the card. I had left running a photo processing lab that I owned and was losing money hand over fist, and now I was typing up library cards and reading, just reading all day and getting paid for it. So I had that. Things were turning around for me. Things were just happening that I didn't really ever believe could happen, to where all of a sudden my life was totally different. All of a sudden I was getting money in. I got more money in working for the Eugene Public Library than I did years running my own business, because we kept losing money faster than we could bring it in. I would go into the local grocery store and hear my name over the loudspeaker to come to the office, and then if I thought I was going to write a check there, I was had another idea coming, because they had my checks taped up onto the wall that had all bounced. And so my life had just changed so much. And when it became time for this center to start, the thing that was the impetus of this, because I had been a minister in Miami, and I was young and I had not grown up, nor had I shut up. And so I was obnoxious and immature and just drew out of people animosity to where I was, you know, my tale of woe was I was thrown out. At the last annual membership meeting, I had a hired attorney by my side and a hired public parliamentarian to make sure everything that happened was legal. Yeah, I'm a minister, that's a bad thing. When you've got to bring an attorney into a meeting with your people, that's a bad consciousness. And what I learned from that is that it doesn't matter who's right and who's wrong. If you draw a line in the sand, you've lost. You already lost. As soon as you draw the line, as soon as you go to war, you lost. There are no winners in war. So I had said only crazy people are ministers, you know, you can't trust people, they'll turn on you, and my tale of woe in my head. And John kept trying to get me to go back into ministry. We moved from Miami up here, I was going to UNCA, I was on the honor roll, I was making a 4.0 average, I was in some kind of a Sigma Phi blah 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 thing, club for sociology. Because I decided I would not just study one people, I would study everybody. Sociology is the way you do that. I was gardening. My last garden was an acre. Those of you who garden, think about it. It was a measured acre. And I had it planted. I had entire sections that I planted by the full moon with smudge and chanting. In the middle of the night, they were native sections, and then I would rope them off and leave them for all the fairies and the angels and the indigenous people that were still hanging around. So I did not want to go back into this crazy world called ministry. And I had a problem because I had tithed devotedly. I believe in tithing. I know that when I tithe, I set incredible forces into motion. It is my standing on faith, saying there's more than enough, and that I am spiritually fed by the universe. And I noticed in my drawer, my sock drawer, that I had an envelope because like Lynn, I would tithe right away. I would take the money out, and I was dealing in a lot of cash, and I would put it in the envelope, and I would put it in my drawer. And it occurred to me, my envelope was, you know, well over an inch thick, stuffed with money. And it occurred to me that I had nowhere to tithe, and that my life was terribly off balance. And that's when I decided I would start this center. This center is started on a belief in tithing. But tithing is not just a cold experience where you give money to someone that's got a sign up on the side of the road. It takes soul searching to say, where am I connecting to spiritually? Where am I being spiritually fed? Is it the author of a book? Is it someone who gives a workshop? Is it a center that I go to? Is it a person that really talked me through this? And I feel fuller because of that experience. And so we give that money in that direction because what we feed, we grow. And so if we want to grow those kinds of experiences in our life, that's where we direct our money. So I've often used the example that if someone offered me $1 million, I would not give up tithing. I believe in it so strongly that if I got $1 million to stop tithing, I wouldn't have the $1 million very long at all, because I would have gone back into a consciousness that says I'm not in the flow. And I love it talking to people about tithing who don't tithe because they're looking at their watch. They're saying, would she notice if I got up and walked out right now? Do you think anybody would notice, or could I just cough like I've got to go somewhere? Because what tithing does is it challenges you on your belief of whether or not there's more than enough. And usually if you're not tithing and you're in this kind of a class, there's something going on that there's not more than enough. So tithing brings it right up. Oh crap, you want me to give away, now I'm going to starve to death if I give that money away. I'm going to run out of gas on the side of the road if I give that money away, because there is no way in the entire universe that I can get any more money. It's impossible. And then because you're in a class like this, you've got to listen to that conversation and go, wait a minute, I just heard all these people talk about these bizarre things. My God, TVs, computers, pieces of cars, radiators, all of these things, and then money just like that. The money showed up in under an hour. Oh, can we do this with money? Sure, we can do this with money. I just heard all of that. How can I hold on to the belief that says nothing will happen to me? What's up with that inside of me? And so what tithing does is it forces people to look at their belief system about whether or not the universe really is supportive, whether or not we really do deserve to be prosperous, whether or not we get to have the fun, happy, blessed life, or whether this alternative universe that says 10 minus 1 equals 9 and 9 is just not enough, whether or not that universe is real. And one of the things that I love about tithing is that 10 minus 1 equals 11. And people go, I don't know how that works. I didn't have enough before I started. I gave some of it away, and now I have more than enough. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense in a linear reality. We don't live in a linear reality. We live in a vibratory and reflective universe that vibrates in alignment with what we're feeling and reflects back to us what we're thinking, what we are giving ourselves, as Napoleon would say, we're auto-suggesting to ourselves, so that when we move out and we say, I'm going to give money away, because I know that it's going to come back to me multiplied abundantly, it goes in there. And it begins to change those old ideas that say you get one pair of shoes at the beginning of the year and it doesn't matter if your feet grow, you're going to pound them into that pair of shoes and that's all there is to it. To go against that old belief system that says there's not enough. And so I just wanted to you know, I love you, Lynn, because you're such a tithing, I mean, you've got forms that you give out to people. They're very simple. I got this much in, this is my tithe, I gave it out, and this is the date. So that people can keep track of that, and you can create money out of thin air. And so what I wanted to do is just give you an opportunity, if there's anyone in the room that does practice the spiritual art of tithing and has had that experience have something in their lives, if you wanted to share something about that. Because I don't know of anything that will get you money faster than practicing tithing. I just don't know it. And it does it in multifaceted ways. It sets spiritual law in motion, and you get that back multiplied abundantly, and it brings up your issues, what Napoleon Hill calls those old ideas, those limiting thoughts that have been put in through auto-suggestion, brings it out into the open so that you can look at that and say, what is this limiting thought, and do I want to continue thinking that? Margaret, you want to come up and talk to the mic?
Well, I've been tithing since the 80s, and I've always done pretty well. You know, I've always worked, I've always had more than enough, you know. And when I decided to retire 4 years ago and sell my house in Miami and move here to Asheville, I didn't know how that was going to work out financially. And when I decided to sell my house in Miami, the market was really going down the toilet. So I said, I don't care. My money comes from the universe. I'm not depending on the sale of my house to move to Asheville to get another house. So I was a motivated seller. So I sold my house in Miami with the intention of I'm exchanging that house for a house here. And it turns out I found a beautiful house, paid for it cash, because I'm a tither, so I had my house in Miami paid for. And then with the income, because I retired, I was going on Social Security. And I retired early, so you know that's all the income that I knew that I was going to have coming in. But I didn't care. I said, I'm supported by the universe, and I'm always supplied with more than I need. So here I am, 4 years here. I own my own home, my car is paid for, I have no credit card debt, and I am positive that my part of tithing and giving back to the universe, knowing that I'm always supported, I'm always supplied with more than enough of whatever I can imagine.
Yay.
So I'm going to start with a controversial statement, and that is that tithing doesn't get me anything. What gets me anything is the commitment to tithe. And once I've made that commitment, it's all already done. So I give 10% of everything that I bring in to this center. That's my choice right now. If I want to go somewhere else, tithe something else, then it's extra, to a person or whatever. So it's all about making the commitment. And once I make the commitment, I have the peace of mind that since I've said, okay, this is how this works, then I'm going to tithe and I'm going to sit back and watch it work. So what you get from that, what I get from it, and what anybody will who makes this commitment, if you really make it, is that when you suddenly need 18 new tires on your truck, or something comes up that you hadn't planned for, you don't panic. You go, oh, okay, this will be fun to see where the money comes from for this. And it comes every single time. So if you want that,
So I have been very committed to tithing for a long time, but for the first time in my life, I'm not tithing off of an income. It's very, very different. I'm tithing off of the support that I'm getting from the universe that is coming from different sources that I couldn't have imagined, and people who believe in me, and I'm continuing to pay that forward, and I'm getting it back in a different way. One example is with the restaurant. I really needed advertising and social media. It's kind of a world that I don't know of, and after tithing last week here, I got connected with a team that loves the restaurant, and they are bartering with me for food, and I just say thank you. Yes, it's just different. It feels different, but it comes back in not always the typical way, but it's far more than I could have out of my checkbook written, but I'm receiving.
Yay.
Good evening. I want to talk about what happens when you don't tithe. Barbara alluded to this about a week ago, or last week. I own a restaurant in town called Vincenzo's, which is a relatively prominent restaurant. Abundant and prosperous for about 18 years now. And it came to me via a lot of treatment work and a lot of faith, a lot of years ago. And I got myself in a whole lot of trouble by stopping tithing. And I am back here in this class to re-remember all of the things that I've known to do. And tonight, I have 57 people in my restaurant at about $35 a head. So I'll bring in about $2,000 tonight. Yay. And the sad thing about that is that historically I've done much more. I would normally have about 100 people in the restaurant tonight, this time of year, at about $35 a head, and about making $3,500. But what stopped me from doing that, and I know this in my abundance, is I stopped tithing because I got scared. And what you all know, I ain't scared no more. Whoa.
Okay. I'm probably not as eloquent a speaker as everybody else, but I've been tithing now for about 5 years. I started in one of the summer prosperity classes, and I was one of those people that was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can give up this money. But I thought, if you don't do it and you don't try, how are you ever going to know if the principle really works? So I started tithing, and I have not gone without a single thing. I go out and eat in places that I want to go eat. I buy clothing I want to buy. I go on trips. I have not gone without anything. And in the 5 years that I've been tithing, my income has grown exponentially. Last year, my company announced that we were going to be employee-owned. I now have a stock option in my company. I earned about 5 weeks of vacation this year. I mean, blessings just keep coming. I bought a house before I sold my old house. My old house is now sold, and things just keep getting better and better. I can't think of any better place than I would want to tithe my income than the center, because the center has been my rock all this time, and I encourage you to try and do the same.
So when I first got into this practice, I started tithing and it worked well, but I was a teacher, so I knew exactly how much I was going to make and how much I would tithe, and that was easy for me to do because it was set. So when I moved here, I became, a realtor and an independent contractor. I never knew how much I was going to make. So that was really a challenge for me to set the intent of how much I was going to tithe and to act on faith. And the best thing that happened out of that was I really realized that God and I are one, and that it works that way. And then Barbara, when she was talking about tithe where you're spiritually fed, I like that because there was one period where I stopped coming to the center for a little bit, and I had to look, where was I being spiritually fed? And I couldn't get that same feel. And when I came back, and it was great, I had my stack to bring back. And then the last year, Barbara said, like, double what your commitment was and go ahead and make your tithe. And I made a big tithe commitment. And I'm almost on track for where it's going with that. So it really does work. And whenever I do have those little things, if for some reason I have forgotten to tithe, I don't know how that happens anymore. Now that we can do PayPal, it doesn't matter. I can get it really fast. But I will find that the universe says, oh, you should have put 500 there, and guess what? You got 500 on your car to fix or something like that. So I prefer to tithe.
So like Barbara said, you gotta have structure for tithing. So like I have this chart for this grid. If you want one, email me and I will send it to you. But really, you just gotta do it. You just gotta do it, have some structure. And if you can't do it because you're so scared to do it, then find someone to help you. And I will help you. And, then you can tithe to me from all the new money you're going to make. So I think a lot of people have a huge amount of fear. And there are two things I did differently this week that I think really multiplied the amount of money I made. And one was I was figuring out my tithe in the sanctuary during a song. And I was actually singing as I was doing my numbers and as I was writing the check. So that was one thing. The other thing I can't really get into detail in, but I'm sure you can figure that out. So there's different ways that you can really multiply your goods. So if there's any way that I can help you, let me know.
Okay, I really wish Dan was here tonight because he's been talking about this. He actually, if you know my husband, does a lot of crazy things here, but and he's actually in Chicago right now on a business trip, but he has a list going at home because he wants us to be able to look back and see all these things that have happened to us. And actually, we just started tithing when we joined the center. Well, I guess we started going into classes in October, and then we set up tithing for this year when we became members, which constantly shows us over and over that we have just money appears out of just nowhere, and really, and he's said this before, so it's not a big secret, but he has some past in a 12-step program, and he really have learned a lot from like getting into the whole mindset of the universe provides for you, and like looking back, we like did crazy things. We just like picked up and moved from Denver over the mountains to a little tiny town called Ridgeway, Colorado, and I opened up 2 yoga studios, which we had not the money for, but for some reason stuff kept coming and showing up, and we were never like under money, I guess you would say. Like we always had enough. It always evened out. And then we decided we were just gonna move here. So we like got rid of the yoga studios and moved here, and with our house that we have now, it seems like a friggin' miracle because we didn't have the money to actually buy it, and somehow how it got set up was that they were selling the land and the house separately, so we got 2 different loans that we were approved on instead of 1 loan that we weren't going to get approved on. And so we have like our dream house right now, and we have this center now, and like we've seen just wonderful things with Dan's job and such. And I don't know, for me, I'm a server, so I don't know, I don't really connect things with my serving job too much other than just trying to pass along, like I write affirmations on the top of my checks and stuff for people. Which a lady today said, oh my gosh, it like fit perfectly with the changes in life that I have going on right now, so thank you. But with Dan's job, he's constantly like getting stocks just given to him, and he like sells them because it's money, and so then we have money to do other stuff at our house, and then for me, it's not so much money, but I do stuff with goats, and so I consider like milking goats and such, like I call the milk like white gold because then I make cheese with it, and it's like fresh milk, and so anyway, that's kind of that's my money coming from like animals and such like that. But anyway, he probably would have had a lot more to say, but that's a little bit of what
you're good, Carrie. Carrie brought the 100 happy days to us.
Yes.
Yes. So I encourage you, if you don't tithe 10%, it's not 9%, it's not 8%, it's 10% to wherever you are spiritually fed, you're missing out on an opportunity. And you're missing out on an opportunity to capitalize on the expansion and the prosperity of the universe. People who tithe, tithe. And if you don't, you may want to try it. Because all you can lose is your fear, your lack, your limitation, your worry, and you will lose it. And you will be able to stand and say, I tithe, and I always have more than enough. You may not have $1 billion, but $1 billion will only give you a sense that you have more than enough. And if you tithe, you will have that sense that you have more than enough. There comes a peace, a security, a safety, a trust, and a faith with this process. And nobody gets through any of my classes without me encouraging them to become a tither. Because when you do that, things change and things happen. So I encourage you to do that, especially in this prosperity class. I know that stepping out in faith and saying, my God, you want me to give 10% of my time, 10% of my talent, 10% of my money? What do you want, everything? The answer is yes. I want everything of the old to go by the wayside. And for each one of us to step clear in the light of this new experience, which says there's always more than enough. The universe conspires for our good, and things are happening right now to show up in our lives in a way that will lift us like we've never been lifted before. So thank you for those of you who shared. This was totally impromptu, and I'm just very grateful for your words. Something happens when we share with each other that is different from when I tell you what my life is like. I have some handouts for you. These are the, last week I started reading you the self-confidence formula. And so I went ahead and printed them out. I want to read them real fast because they're really great. You're supposed to go over this. Build self-confidence. Lift yourself up. Tell yourself that you've got whatever it is that you need, that you're guided by divine wisdom, that you're a guest magnet for your restaurant, for your business, whatever, that's inside of you. So he says, first, I know that I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite purpose in life. Therefore, I demand of myself persistent, continuous action toward its attainment. And I here now promise to render such action. I deserve to have what I want, so I'm going to find it inside of myself to go for it. And I'm not going to let myself off the hook to be mediocre. That was Barbara paraphrasing. Second, I realize the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person. Who are you? You are not your past. Get to know yourself. You are a magnificent, powerful, creative, spiritual being alive and well on planet Earth. Get to know yourself. Third, I know through the principle of autosuggestion, any desire that I persistently hold in my mind will eventually seek expression through some practical means of attaining the object back of it. Therefore, I will devote 10 minutes daily to demanding of myself the development of self-confidence. Fourth, I have clearly written down a description of my definite chief aim in life, and I will never stop trying until I shall have developed sufficient self-confidence for its attainment. Fifth, I fully realize that no wealth or position can long endure unless built upon truth and justice. Therefore, I will engage in no transaction which does not benefit all whom it affects. I will succeed by attracting to myself the forces I wish to use and the cooperation of other people. I will induce others to serve me because of my willingness to serve others. I will eliminate hatred, jealousy, envy, selfishness, and cynicism by developing love for all humanity because I know that a negative attitude toward others can never bring me success. I will cause others to believe in me because I will believe in them and in myself. I will sign my name to this formula, commit it to memory, and repeat it aloud once a day with full faith that it will gradually influence my thoughts and actions so that I will become a self-reliant and successful person. If you believe in you, money will believe in you. If you see yourself as successful, you will be successful. So get to know the part of you that is rich. Get to know that transcendent part of you, the part of you that knows what to do and does it well. Get an experience of who you truly are, not who you have been, not who your parents said you were, but that amazing God being that you are, and settle for nothing less. Nothing less. The tyranny of the subconscious mind is the little voice that whispers, oh, you've done enough. Go ahead and quit. It doesn't matter. You can't do it anyway. Rumi says that's the grandmother that comes in and says, oh, you look a little peaked. Maybe you should stay home from school today. And he says, run from that voice. Run from that voice and run into the life that is there for you. It is there, yours for the taking, but you have to get up and take it. So develop some confidence in yourself. I'm the kind of person that's rich. I've got that in me. Maybe I don't have the education or the experience or any clue how that's going to happen. It doesn't matter. That's who I am. I am rich. Find that person inside of you and watch it show up in every area of your life. Are you ready to be rich?
Yes.
I'm going to give you one homework assignment. We didn't get much into the subconscious mind, but what I want you to do is come up with a list of limiting beliefs or limiting phrases that come out of your mouth And I want you to counter those with a statement and an affirmation of prosperity. And bring those to class so that we can talk about them. You know when they come out, oh crap, not again. That's a limiting view. You know, that whole Murphy's Law thing is terrible. So when you hear that, write it down and then counter it. Give yourself something to auto-suggest into your subconscious, which will then take it and bring it into physical form. Are you sure you're ready?
Yes.
Because you know, I think we've gone through a lot in life, and I don't think that we did it just to live a life of mediocrity. But before you get up out of your chairs, take what you're going to give. If you are just now getting your commitment to be in the Think and Grow Rich program, fill out your form and sign it. It says, "This is my pledge. I will attend all classes in the Think and Grow Rich program. If you've missed some, they're going to be on the website very shortly. I will set aside time every day to reflect on the prosperity principles I'm learning to embody and practice. Do something with this. I will tithe my time and talent. I will tithe 10% of my income to Center for Spiritual Living Asheville. I will recite my prosperity treatment multiple times each day with clear intention that it is absolutely so. Sign that. Put your name on it. Get behind yourself. Open up to the abundance of the universe that is yours. Get your checks ready. Get your papers ready. And then get ready. Not singing. Because life is waiting for you. Life is knocking for you. Life is calling to you to do what you want to do, to live the life that you want to live in the house that should have been impossible to get. We built this center with not a dime. Not a dime. It's almost worth $2 million now. Not a dime. You don't need money. You need trust. You need faith. You need action. You need divine inspiration. And then anything will happen. So, are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready to have it the way you want to have it?
Yes.
Are you ready to do it the way you want to do it?
Yes.
Are you ready to take that trip that you want to take?
Oh, yes.
Buy those things that you want to buy?
Yes.
Are you ready to have money stacked up around you?
Yes.
Get up off your seats and move forward. Together aloud.
I want to know that God is the source of all supply, and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word, which I speak in faith, knowing, now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the Think and Grow Rich program of our center, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is.
Now I have great faith in your ability to keep these baskets going all the way around as we continue with our treatment for prosperity. Because I, Barbara, know that God is the source of all supply, and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word, which I speak in faith knowing, now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that